We rank Death Battle Season 10. Please be nice to us. On today's episode of BrobusCast Death Battle Edition. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of BrobusCast. I am your host, Brobuscus. With me today is ZDogg.
Guess who started off the year with a fever? Yeah.
And Richard.
Happy New Year. I have backup new AirPod headphones, so hopefully I sound good.
Yay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, we've got our ranking for Death Battle Season 10. It's
Yep.
here.
Yep, that we do. And hey, remember when I said that season 9, or remember when we said last year that season 9 was the hardest season to rank?
How naive of us.
Yes.
Exactly. How
Truly,
naive.
we were boys then. Now we are men.
Yep. So
because okay, look, I'm just gonna go out and say it. You know what? I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off before we even get into it. This is my new favorite season of Death Battle.
Yeah,
100% agreed. Yes, this is my number one favorite. Season 9 and 6 still hold a place in my heart, but look, man, this season just delivered non-stop banger after banger, and I think they pretty much hit their maximum peak with this season. So I'm very certain that it's gonna be the new foundation of how all future seasons have to be compared to how Death Battle should orient their seasons.
that sounds about right. And you know what? With how with how high up the bar was set, I mean, you know, it's gonna be pretty damn hard to say the least. Because, man, just man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just hope people aren't too hard on season 11, because like,
as do I.
Because I remember when they were on season 3. Like, it was coming off of season 2, which everyone thought was peak. You know, everyone thought was like that was peak Death Battle. We weren't getting better than that. And then season 3 was like way lesser, and everyone just hated it. And meanwhile, I'm just sitting here like, I thought it was an okay season, but okay. It's like,
and then
I thought it was okay.
I like season 3 was okay. It was okay. Look,
yeah, it was okay. Just
there's our future season 3 ranking. It was okay.
I mean, hey, you know, it's just expectations are when you set the bar as high as you do. Just
well, to be fair, when we did our season 9 ranking last year, we did say that season 10 was going to have a lot to live up to. But
little did we know that it would take them probably about 2 episodes to be like, yeah, we got this.
And can I just say before we get started, this was a very monumentous occasion for season 10 because the show has been going for almost 2 decades, and to hit 10 seasons, and that is just a massive achievement. And I hope that all of the crew members are very proud of themselves and take pride knowing that they lived up to this anniversary event season.
Indeed.
Because it's not that often that a web show gets 10 seasons.
No, it's really not.
But hey, congrats for Death Battle for sticking it this long and still going real strong.
Yep. But the question is, what's the best episode of the season? Well, that's what we're here to
In our opinion.
That's true.
In our
that's
opinion,
true.
yes.
That's true. Yes, thank you
Let's
for
set the rules.
that.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Let's
we
set
are
the
here to
rules.
figure that out.
Yeah. So as any season ranking goes here on BrobusCast, these are not to determine which is the best episode of the season period. These are to determine what is the best episode of the season in our own opinions. We do not represent
Our favorites,
the
if
community.
you will.
Mhm.
There you go. We do not carry any weight for these rankings. We're just three ordinary Joes who are here to tell you, like, hey, we like this episode better than that episode. That's it. So
Yep.
if your favorite episode doesn't get high on our list, then, hey, sorry about that, but it was just how
Look,
we
it was
felt.
hard, okay?
No,
It
was, yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly.
We literally, all three of us felt like we had a gun to our head in ranking this season.
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the episodes that are near the bottom of my list, I'm just like, I don't want to put this one so low because it gives off the wrong idea.
That's exactly how I felt. And on that note, it'd probably be also important to say.
It's a good segue.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can fully speak for the other two here. Yeah, I don't think this is a season with any outright bad episodes like last year. It's just the lowest one ranked for me. And Brob, if I know what it is. Let's see if I'm a prophet. It just wasn't for us in comparison to everything else this year. It just wasn't for us, which is fine. And hey, if it was for you,
I'm just gonna go out and say I think every episode this season is at the very least good.
Yeah.
With the exception of one episode, I would say each episode is great.
Cool.
This is me talking. If my least favorite episode of the season is still 7 out of 10, I think you can tell this is a pretty good season.
Absolutely,
it's pretty good.
Absolutely, it's very good. It's very good. It's damn good. But again, we're doing our best to stall because we know all of you at home are just probably fast forward. You're hitting the fast forward button.
Yeah, you're probably hitting the fast forward button 100%.
But it's we have to let it be known.
Yep.
This was very meticulous. We came down to the wire on this one, and we wanted to make sure that these rankings were as good and pitch perfect as they could be, because that's all it is. At the end of the day, we had a lot of fun going back, watching these episodes, learning new things that we didn't know before, and allowing them to sit with us in a way that we couldn't the first time, because that's going to be the beauty of this. When we go through each episode, we're probably going to give some new insight onto the episode that we didn't get a chance to before, because either we missed it or we were just high off of adrenaline.
Yeah. All right.
But to appease those who are fast forwarding, I think we should just go ahead and rip some band-aids off, because
let's do it.
Because I'm just gonna tell you guys this right now. This ranking is wild.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see what it is. Man. All right, and as usual, we're going by golf rules. So the lower the number in episodes, so the lower the number is, the better it is among us.
Yeah.
So
I could have just said we're going off of Abby rules, but that's better.
God,
I don't know what that is. Anyway,
I hate you for that. But anyways,
all right.
Okay.
So I'm gonna spoil something right now.
Oh boy,
This
was I
ranking,
right?
this ranking has 1, 2, 3, 4 ties.
What?
I knew that.
4?
4.
Is one of them at the bottom?
It's funny actually. Yeah, which is kind of why I'm bringing this up right now.
I knew it. I freaking knew it. Let it be known. I mentioned
in
this
fact,
in our private.
I'm gonna tease you guys at least a little bit more. The first 2 ties start our ranking.
Are you? Are you kidding me?
Oh, you bastard.
That's really funny. That's really funny.
Hey, don't give us shit, Richard. You're involved in this too.
Yeah, I know. I played the 5th. I played the 5th.
All right. Gosh.
All right.
All right.
But so in case you don't remember, how we determine ties is basically how we determine which one gets higher is basically whichever one the majority of us like more. There are 3 of us, so whichever one 2 of us like more, that one's getting higher.
Yep.
And I say that because both number 16 and number 15 have a grand total of 42 points.
Right.
And with that, number 16. Phoenix versus Raven.
What?
Damn.
Wow. Oh boy.
You know what? It's weird because I know you asked about like the common ranking. I feel like this is a very common last place spot,
Probably.
but I honestly did this to go way further in our ranking. Huh.
Agreed.
But
That just kind of goes to show now, doesn't it?
yep. All right. So,
So-
where do we all rank this now?
Well, hold on. Let me see who had this one lowest. That would be you, ZDogg.
Yes.
At number 15 for ZDogg. Number 14 for Richard. And number 13 for me. So, ZDogg, talk
Damn,
now.
Okay. That honestly surprises me, but okay. So, honestly, I will say though, even though it's ranked at the very bottom, I just think this episode is a bit overhated. Like I do kind of feel bad about like how much. Well, not even hate, because like there's not even that much hate. It's just when the competition is everything else in this season. I mean, yeah. But I will say, I did enjoy this episode. Yeah, I don't know. I found the analyses pretty neat. Learning about both these two. Having some jokes that really made me laugh, especially Gene dying a 16th time. Thank you. That was great. The fight looks freaking amazing. The birds look godlike, honestly. The fight was entertaining. I liked both the voice actresses' performance and Fireborn, or not Fireborn, which Forevermore. So that's later, yes. Forevermore is honestly, again, a very underrated soundtrack. Honestly, it slaps a lot. Yeah, honestly, just like there's not a lot I can really complain with this episode. So why is it second to last on my list? Well, I don't mean to cop out, because you'll probably be hearing this a lot, this ranking. I just found the other episodes more appealing. Doesn't there's absolutely nothing outright wrong with this episode. I don't know. I just found the other ones a lot more interesting and better, a lot better made. But yeah, I really wish I could say more, but yeah, it's just a very solid episode, and yeah, very neat to see both these characters get in the spotlight again for the show. Well, you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good explanation, but hey, it's what I'm working with here.
That's what you're gonna get.
Yeah. So yeah, very solid. It's just very solid. It's just in comparison. Yeah, just I liked a lot more this season more. So yeah, and there you go.
Okay. Well then, I guess that's my cue. So I want to agree with ZDogg. I liked this episode. At the time, I thought it was one of the best Sprite episodes of the season. The analysis was pretty good. For Jean Grey, it was fine. The only thing that really got me to laugh was, of course, that she died again recently in the comics. I also
just thought of a
very
really
much enjoyed
joke.
seeing. Oh no!
I just find it funny that the highlight of Jean's analysis is, "Haha, she's dead." We are sick, twisted people.
You think? Oh boy. Ravens was fine. I very much enjoyed seeing her back again, a new take on her. It didn't come off as if they were repeating themselves too much from her original analyses. Although this didn't impact my ranking, but I did hear that there may have been some more overscaling and for her analyses. Giving her feats that once again are a little bit overblown in the comics. Whether or not this had any effect on me, I cannot say. But what I can say is that I love learning about Raven's character. It's very nice, and I also just loved seeing an X-Man and a Teen Titan going against each other. I think that's a much better pairing than, say, an Avatar versus an X-Man. Wink, wink. I also just want to say that unfortunately, I've never been the biggest Jean Grey fan. She's never appealed to me as a character, so that didn't help my overall investment with the episode, at least from her part. But that being said, it was still nice to see both characters and how they stacked up. I also appreciate that they didn't just go over the Phoenix, but they did go over everything with Marvel Girl, the Phoenix, White Phoenix Jean, and of course, where her character currently stands at this point in time. That's very nice. The animation. I think the animation, like ZDogg said, is very, very good. It is all carried by the animators, especially the highlight being Moro, who animated and drew the Phoenix and the Raven Soul Self. That was very well done. The way they interacted off of each other was very nice, but my enjoyment doesn't just come from that. It comes from the way these two go places. It starts off on Azarath, then it goes to outer space, where they're hurling moons at each other, and then the white hot room, and finally just coming back to Azarath. I also very much like the kill shot. I think the kill shot was very well done. It was very, very beautiful, very symbolic for both Raven and Jean, in a sense that Raven is extinguishing the Phoenix's flame and therefore Jean's flame, but also you get that great sense that, okay, she's happy to be home there's a lot going on with Raven's character that I appreciate compared to the last time. But it could have used more. I could have used more of it. It felt like it didn't get enough focus on. And the voice acting was good. I love that they actually did get Kara Buckland back. Her Tara Strong impression is very, very good. It's better than it was the last time. And I also loved Forevermore. Like Aaron choosing to combine the 90s X-Men theme with the 03 Teen Titans theme. That's perfect. You have so much character going on in just the track alone, and it's a solid banger. And I agree with the conclusion. Even if, again, they did downplay the white hot room, I can't say that bothered me or made me look at it a different way. But that being said, yeah, I do agree with ZDogg. I feel like this episode does get a little too much overhate. It's not bad. It's the most action-oriented episode we've gotten, and I think it's got a lot more better action than the earlier Sprite fights that were going on in the season. And yeah, so that's why I put it where I did. It very much fills the place of Deku versus Asta. It's not bad, but it's not great. It fits that middle portion very perfectly.
And I really don't have anything like much more to add on. You guys have pretty much covered pretty much everything I would have. The only things I can really comment on is that it's okay. For one, through this rewatch, because I don't think we covered it much when this episode came out. But a lot of like people's main complaints with this episode is on the editing.
Yeah.
And it's through this rewatch that I now kind of understand why.
That's
fair. It's not bad. But it's better than what I could do. But
yeah.
But
well,
I guess I guess I understand, because I noticed it especially when they were talking about Dark Phoenix, and like they reuse clips from that one X-Men anime, like less than a minute apart from each other, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I mean, I've like, I feel like that's just a bit of a time crunch on Parker's end, which I do feel bad about.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Like I agree. Like, and I guess, sorry to steal your spotlight a little. Like, it's not bad. I agree. It's just, again, it's just in comparison to the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Like, but it's solid. It's decently solid on its own. Like,
yeah, that's fine. I just
it's fine.
I see it more. Like, I didn't have any problem with it when it came out, but then I heard everybody talking about, like, man, this editing is kind of just meh, and I'm watching it now, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying now.
I do agree. I have to. I'm sorry to steal your spotlight. I do agree. Maybe the editing, the footage could have been better too, because there was they didn't. There wasn't that much. I couldn't tell if Parker was using HD footage of the Teen Titans series for Raven. It did look like it was low. It was low standard, like broadcast version. If he was, okay, maybe it was just how it was filtered. Same thing for the X-Men footage. But the editing really doesn't bother me as much as I guess it bothers other people.
Oh no, it doesn't. It doesn't bother me. I just notice it more now. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I agree that the analyses overall are pretty good. The fight, okay, I'm amazed that they were able to get all of their forms in. Like having like Dark Phoenix, the White Phoenix, Dark Raven, Golden Raven. Like, they didn't have Golden Raven last time, so I'm like, okay.
No, they didn't.
On top of just the crazy animation that's done for the birds, it's like like I said this on a couple other podcasts, but this animation is a budgeting miracle. It's like the fact that they were able to do all of this and not go. Okay, I guess they did go at least a little over budget from what I've been told, but I mean, granted, that was for granted. I say that I'm more so referring to the season as a whole, not just this episode.
Agreed.
But other than that, I really don't have any more to comment on. It's really good. I just
okay.
Okay,
It's like a high 7 out of 10.
If this was
Maybe a high 8.
If this was in any other season, this would be top 10 at minimum.
I was gonna say to paraphrase a little, other episodes wish this could be their lowest episode.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. So yeah. Also, I do want to comment because I didn't like. Gosh, that last shot is of the death of Raven blowing Phoenix.
Very good.
It's so good. It's so clean. I love that shot so much.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Just wanted to comment on it since
whoever recommended Moro to Rooster Teeth needs a raise.
Absolutely.
Hiring Moro is easily like one of the best decisions they've ever made.
Indeed.
And I think this episode and a few others down the line are gonna are proof of that.
Indeed.
Yep. All right. So that's number 16.
And with that, shall we go down the line?
That's.
We're just getting started.
You can check. You can mark your checkbox that you absolutely have. Don't lie. I see you. Phoenix versus Raven is done. I will agree wholeheartely that this episode gets way too much crap.
Agreed. It's not an underrated fight, but it is a fight that I think a lot of people need to re-examine because there are more positives than negatives in my opinion.
It's just I remember seeing like people linking videos that were like, this episode is like is this the worst episode ever? Kind of like, not ever, but like of the season, blah, 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 all that. And I remember people were saying like, are you kind of calling this episode the worst of the season when Phoenix versus Raven exists? And I'm like, okay, well.
I'll go that.
I'm sorry you all have a massive hate boner for this episode, but I don't see it.
What did Phoenix versus Raven ever do to you?
It existed. That's what it did.
I guess to give them like some benefit of the doubt, I guess it's a thing where it's like it's a Marvel versus DC fight. It's a pretty standard Marvel versus DC fight.
Right.
Like compared to the other ones we've gotten, this one is very I guess by the numbers is the phrase I'm looking for.
It's very by the numbers. It feels like nothing new is added. At the very least, I can say I would actually rank this a little bit. I would rank this in the near higher echelon of Marvel vs. DC fights that we've had. It's not going to be at the tippy top, but it's not going to be that low.
No.
And guess what? For being one of the many Marvel vs. DC fights this season, I actually think that they gradually kept going more better in terms of how they presented themselves. So, just saying.
Well, I guess it's time to
sense
move
of
on.
Transition coming.
Yeah, I guess it's time to move on on that topic. So what could have tied with this episode? Because remember, this was a tie. So,
But
number 15.
montage man, go.
Ant-Man versus Adam.
Ah,
There it is.
so technically I
Yeah.
wasn't. So I technically wasn't wrong.
Yeah, I guess it really didn't take long for this one to show up, now didn't it?
Nope.
It's actually funny because like this one is ranked pretty closely with Phoenix versus Raven on like all of our lists. Obviously, Mr. I just muted myself out of I don't know because it's just kind of funny that he mutes himself now. Because he had it at number 16. This is his very bottom.
I'm not gonna lie.
ZDogg had it at number 14. I had it at 12.
Cool.
Welcome, John.
Yeah, well,
So
well,
here's a recap.
yeah, welcome back to the podcast, John from Storyboarder.
Yeah.
Yeah. All you missed was our number 16, which was Phoenix versus Raven.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you,
Actually, do you have anything you want to add, to comment on for that episode?
When it comes to Phoenix versus Raven, not so much. It was pretty much like your standard affair of a Marvel versus DC matchup. Two magic girls going at it. I think the most fun I had doing the boards for that fight would be the Soul Self and the Fire Phoenix. Like that was fun. But I kind of also agree with it being a lot of people's last on the list. I believe a lot of lists that I were able to see had a lot of the Marvel vs. DC matchups near the bottom for understandable reasons.
Yeah, I get that. All right. Well, I mean, I already announced it to the other guys. I'll just say it here. Number 15 is Ant-Man versus Adam.
fitting check on that note.
Yeah, funny. We keep talking about Marvel vs. DC fights. Yeah, look, here's another one. Although I guess this is Richard's least favorite. So while we wait for him to unmute, or I guess it's right now. What I will say is I guess it should be kind of. I feel like this is kind of a feat for the season premiere to be at the near lowest one because it's kind of like. I don't know. I guess I kind of viewed it as like, this is just like dipping your toes in water, you know. It's like this is just kind of like a taste of what's to come for the season, and then the rest of it is just like bam, good episode, bam, good episode, bam, good episode. So it's like, kind of fitting that the season premiere is probably near the bottom of the list. But okay, Richard. Hi, hello. How are you doing? Ant-Man vs. Adam, number 16. You want to talk about that? Fascinating. All right.
I guess I'll go in the
while we
meantime.
wait for him, you go.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully he's doing all right. Anyway. All right. So, again, another very solid episode overall, and a very solid premiere. Glad we've been getting back on the track of people actually liking the premieres. That feels nice. Yeah. Well, I guess it's because we start with Miles Static. Anyway, that's not important right now. Yeah, I don't know. Just found this one very solid. Yeah, just found the analyses very solid. Learning more about Hank and Ray was very interesting, especially since I feel like I haven't really heard much about these two in comparison to Scott, and I barely hear anything about Ryan either, but whatever.
Ryan's an
yeah,
injustice,
no.
and that's literally it.
Yeah, basically. Whoopsies. Hopefully he'll get a spotlight later. Oh well. But no, found their coverage of both very interesting. DJ went very, very off on the edit, as in he was good for the record. Yeah, just made the analyses very interesting. Learning about them, very nice. The fight, again, very solid. Yeah, just very solid sprite work, very solid action, very solid character portrayals, very solid voice acting, very solid track. Fight is one, my beloved.
Yeah.
And dear gosh, that death. I really hope you have something to say about that in the storyboards, John.
Oh, you know I do.
Oh boy. Yeah. Again, like with Phoenix versus Raven, there's nothing I can really say why, really nothing wrong with this episode. Anything I can complain about, really. It's just, I don't know, just find the other episodes more interesting. But again, that is definitely not saying this is bad. Like, I had fun with it. It's just, I prefer the other episodes more. I think just prepare to hear a lot of that from me this season, unfortunately. But we will see.
All right. I'm sorry to keep y'all waiting. Dogs are a big responsibility.
Yeah. That's fine. I understand that.
Then again, so are pets. Speaking of pets, okay. Yes, I had this at the bottom of my ranking. Not for anything negative. I do want to start off. I do think this is a decent episode. It's probably the highest 6 out of 10 I could possibly give it. It's the most unique Marvel versus DC fight in terms of we're dealing with science and shrinking, and we're dealing with physics as well, comic book physics, not regular physics. I do see merit in this episode. And I have seen a lot of people place it higher on their rankings. Not top tier, but they still place it. Yeah, they don't put it at the bottom like me. But I did like hearing about Hank Pym and Ray Palmer. Ray Palmer and is one of my favorite lesser known DC characters, so I'm very happy that he got to get on. And I did have a decent knowledge of Hank Pym. I admit I didn't really pay attention to where his story had been going after I heard about his stint as Yellow Jacket and how he went a little cray-cray, but then he did get better. So I actually love the story framing for this, and I actually do want to give that the biggest compliment, and I think that's what elevates the episode for me, is how the story for Hank Pym is told. And how it ends for him. And then Ray Palmer, it just kind of feels like, okay, he's cool too. Like, that's it. He's just cool. There's really nothing more that can be said about good old Ray. DJ did do a great job with his first bit of editing on this episode. It would definitely not be his magnum opus. Definitely, we will get to that later. But for his first for as I like to call it, for his first time with the training reels, I think he did a great job. And then I guess now there's the fight. I thought the animation was just a little too. I felt like, once again, with Raven versus Phoenix, it does kind of feel like it's a bit by the numbers, but whether or not that is a little too much for me, I've really been struggling to say, because there are elements I like in it. I do love the shrinkage being used. I like that we do get to see the difference between their arsenals with Hank's ants and Ray's technology. I also love that the callback they do to the first Ant-Man movie where they fight on Hank's desk, and you get to see things from their perspective that are about to kill them. Then you cut back to real-time perspective, and it's just, it just falls down comedically. That's very funny, and I appreciate that. Then once I feel like everything just goes down into the dimensions, it starts to lose. It admittedly, I start to get lost. I can't explain it. I feel like it was trying to do a lot, but it didn't go too far with it. It felt like it was just a safe bet. And I was very disappointed with the end that we didn't get more time in overspace that we did in the other places. I do understand that we probably couldn't get a giant segment because, from what I was told, Ray can't go that giant anymore. He has to stick to regular size. But then the death kind of brought it back for me. So yeah, I think that's where my source of contention for this episode just comes from. Is we talked about this with Raven versus Phoenix and other Marvel versus DC fights, but I was just not expecting this to be the season premiere. I was very much hoping it would happen somewhere later down the line to where maybe we could have seen just a little bit more. But then again, that's really kind of that's no fault of the episode. That's just the fault of the matchup has potential to go both big and small. And I think with what was done, it was good. But I felt like, okay, the other Raven versus Phoenix kind of was a little bit better in terms of we got to go to multiple different locations, and they were very much more used better, and it managed to keep it simple. That's what I feel like this episode is. It's just a little too complicated for me. And the voice acting in the track, I like it. I think it's good. And I do got to admit, though, that death is the best part of the whole episode. We've seen things, but my God, this death just pushes it to a whole new dimension.
I like to think that this episode awakened a lot of people's insectophobia.
Yeah.
You know, you're not wrong, because just last night I saw an ant on the floor, and I was like, oh God, oh God, is this my punishment? Is this my punishment?
You put Ant-Man versus Adam at the bottom of the list. How dare you?
and then I saw a cockroach above, and I was like, oh God, it is. The universe is punishing me.
Okay. Well, anyways, just to step in a little bit. You know what? Anyways,
I'm sorry.
Like with Phoenix versus Raven, I feel like this one. Okay, Phoenix versus Raven, I feel like it's a bit too much discredit. I feel like this one doesn't get enough credit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
This one is just kind of like Phoenix versus Raven is kind of like just it's okay, and then Ant-Man versus Adam was like, oh yeah, that episode happened, and they just move on with their lives. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I mean, and it didn't reach my top 10, but it was still like, I don't know, I still really like this episode. Okay, the main thing for me upon rewatch is I forgot how much I really liked Ant-Man's analysis. Because I knew about, his stunt, his yellow jacket, him going a little, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But I didn't know about he was already kind of going mentally insane with the Pym particles. I especially didn't know about him having bipolar disorder. That threw me completely for a loop. So I was like, oh god, okay. Just poor guy in general. Like that dude's got it rough, but he picks himself up from it, which is good. And then yeah, I agree. The editing is really good. The Ray's analysis is really good too. I prefer Hank's. It might just be because I prefer Hank as a character, but anyways, the fight, it's fun. I personally don't think it's that complicated. I feel like it's actually kind of simple. I mean, they're traveling between dimensions and whatnot. They're like shrinking down to the point where atoms are the size of planets, because that just makes sense. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the main thing that for the fight, aside from the fact that the track uses a leitmotif of Fight as One,
that was good.
This track was forever rent free in my head because of that and that alone. But I remember when Ben announced who the voice actors were, and I went to their IMDb pages, and I had to do a double take when I learned that Ant-Man's voice actor voiced King Arthur from Sonic and the Black Knight.
Oh my god, that's right.
I'm like, okay, wait, hold on, I'm sorry, what? I know everyone's gonna point out how he was also the voice of that one guy from The Walking Dead that I don't know. But me as a Sonic fan is like, oh, okay, he's in Black Knight. Okay, cool. But yeah, no. Apart from that, the fight is fun. I enjoyed it, and I will also agree that death, my god. Like they really just decided, hey, how do we start the season? Oh, I'll tell you how we start the season by giving you one of the most gruesome and brutal deaths we will ever possibly do. Like you do.
Like one does.
Yeah. So thanks for that. I never really liked ants, but I never really considered myself afraid of them, but I never in my life thought, oh yeah, no, if they just grow big enough, they'll just pop out of your body. That's a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm not eating anything right now. Because, thank goodness I'm not eating anything right now.
But yeah, that's really it. That's, so, John, since you're here, who came up with that idea for the death? Do you know?
Now, obviously, when it comes to, we all did, technically. This is what I mean by this is always a team effort when you got this sort of stuff. In the script, it just basically said the ants expand out of Adam and he dies. That's basically the gist of it. And so it's up to me to be like, how brutal do I make this? Do I just kind of just have it just explode with ants? It's like, what if I had an ant grow and you see it pop out of its mouth and you see it eat unhinge his jaw before, and you can clearly see that he's feeling all of it because he's looking around as it's continuously slowly building up until eventually it all bursts outwards. That was all me.
It's beautiful.
And it was thanks to Zach and his amazingness of being able to animate that truly made it shine, essentially. Oh, and funny that you brought up insectophobia. I have mild insectophobia, so this was not a fun fight for me. So just know I suffered while doing that.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember I was watching the commentary and Ben pointed out that a lot of animators had insectophobia, so I was like, oh no.
So that's why they took so long to do this. It makes sense now.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my
gosh.
god, I don't know how I forgot about this. This is not related to the death at all, but one thing like that will always make me laugh every time I see it, and then I will stop watching the episode and then I will forget all about it. But I have to bring it up here because I feel bad that we didn't bring it up last time. Why does it? I know why, but why does an ant say yes, Queen?
So that was
so funny.
in the script. That was in the script, and I believe it was a script writer who specifically wanted to do that. I haven't seen I have seen the Ant-Man movies. I just didn't see the third one. I believe that is a specific ant that does that in those movies.
Anthony or something like that.
Yeah, Anthony.
It's essentially it's straight up an MCU reference. So.
Yeah. I know why that's a thing. I know what that's a reference to. But I was like,
the absurdity of it.
I just remember seeing that. I'm like, wow, that gets referenced in 2023. Okay.
Well, I'm okay with it because context. It's funny.
Yeah. Can you tell that we're this is number 15 and we're already like dying of laughter. Oh man, I cannot wait for the rest of this ranking.
Alright.
On that note, hey, so remember when I said that the first two ties of this ranking start out our ranking? Well, let's get to that second one.
Oh god.
Numbers 14 and 13 both have 37 points.
Oh boy.
But number 14. Stitch versus Rocket Raccoon.
Oh shit! Wow.
Ouch. Raptor, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh man, Biffweed's gonna kill me.
Raptor, I'm so
Well,
sorry.
no, what am I saying? Biffweed's gonna kill all of us. Ah, shit.
Okay, to be fair, Biffweed.
Unless I get to you guys first.
I sense a challenge.
He's gonna kill me before he kills any of y'all, so y'all are safe. Don't worry, John. I'm literally an hour away from John. He'll kill me before he finds y'all, so don't worry.
It is a genuine shock to hear that. But I hear your reasonings.
Anyways, to be fair though, Biffweed's a lot of Biffweed's enjoyment of this episode comes from like his own personal experiences, not like the actual. The actual quality of the episode plays a factor, sure, but like he had it at number one for the longest time because he watched it with friends, not necessarily because the episode is just that good, you know. But anyways,
anyway, where did we rank it?
Number 15 for me, so I have some explaining to do.
Odd.
I knew it.
Number 13 for Richard, and number 9 for ZDogg.
Yep. It's we already have one that's in the top 10 for one of us.
Oh man, don't you worry about that.
Okay. Well, you explain yourself.
When we get to a certain episode, I have a funny little anecdote. But anyways,
okay.
Anyway, so Stitch versus Rocket Raccoon. Later. This is the episode that, when it came out, I was always kind of questioning myself on just why am I not super into it? Fast forward. How many months has it been since this episode's come out? Well, regardless, fast fast forward to now, and I still don't have an answer for you. But that's because I've actually kind of warmed up to this episode over time.
6 months.
6 months. All right, cool. I mean, this episode is really just, it's fun. It's not really much out of anything else. It's amazing that they managed to do Stitch. Honestly, you think like the entire, like, of all the different characters they could bring into Death Battle, and then all of a sudden we get Stitch, and we're just like, wait, what? I mean, like, Rocket, you know, he's a Marvel character. He's got lots of guns, you know. Kind of see him coming at least at some point. And that's nothing against, you know, Stitch as a character or as a combatant, but it's just the novel concept of a movie that's like all about, you know, like family, you know, like that's literally the whole point. Yeah, let's just put one of its main characters in a fight to the death. Smile.
Yeah. It's just that clip of Gravity Falls of Mabel shouting.
Yeah, I really don't know what I can say about this episode. It's fun. I like it. I will say Jeff Shine as Rocket is really damn good.
Agreed.
He sounds like basically perfect. And
what did you say about my mother?
And the idea that he was Captain America in the Avengers game that came out a while back.
Right.
Oh shit, that's right.
Again, say what you will about the game itself, but it's no small feat to be Captain America. In a Square Enix game too. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. I will say I'm still not like the one complaint that I had that I did have when this episode came out, and I still have it to this day. I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of the fake out. Honestly, I wasn't. That wasn't into. I wasn't into it. I feel like they could have done something. I don't know, because I understand it. You know, obviously the fight is the fight. You know, the animation is just the animation. It's just meant to be a fun representation of the research. But it will always be weird to me to see Stitch like survive a direct hit from a gun that could have killed Thanos. It's like Rocket's most powerful gun. If Stitch survives this, like, there's no way Stitch survives this according to the research, and then he does. And I'm just like, okay, like, I have been, I did get the counter argument that, you know, Rocket survives a lot of physical attacks from Stitch when realistically he shouldn't. But in my opinion, it's kind of like it's a sense of escalation, you know? Like, obviously Rocket's gonna survive hits from Stitch at the start. But like if Stitch goes full tilt by the end, then yeah, that'll be the end. But to have Rocket Rocket also lands a lot of direct hits with his other weapons in the middle of the fight, and it doesn't kill Stitch, and I was fine with that. But I don't know. And to be honest, I don't really know what they could have done differently to kind of showcase that, yeah, this is Rocket's most powerful weapon. As a side note, though, I do like that it's a customized proton cannon. That will always be funny to me. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have much to comment on this episode that I didn't comment on when we talked about it last time. The fight is fun. The voice acting is really good. The track is fine. Yeah. That's really all I got. So I'm going to go ahead and just pass this mic over to Richard. See what he has to say.
Okay. So I do like this episode. Now, granted, the reason it wasn't higher was because it did come down to, okay, look, realistically speaking, I didn't have as much investment for Stitch or Rocket as I used to. I kind of feel like it has sort of faded away, but I still do remember loving them as characters. I did watch the Lilo and Stitch movie. I did watch a little bit of the Stitch series, and I do like Rocket Raccoon in the James Gunn movies, and I've come to love him as a character, mainly in Volume 3. Now, but that being said, I do like this episode. I actually think this episode is, like Brobuscus said with Ant-Man vs. Adam, I feel like this episode needs to be talked about more. It's talked about enough, but it needs to be talked about more just because of how, okay, it doesn't feel like a standard episode. It does feel like we're experimenting by having a Disney character fight a Marvel character that are ironically both owned by the same mega corporation. But I love how they went with it. The analysis for Rocket and Stitch were very, very good. I actually found myself gravitating more towards Stitch's analyses because they had a lot to cover throughout the movies, the show, the anime, and it kind of brought me back to why I loved him as a character. Rocket was good. I loved how everything was done for him. That's just about it. Although one little minor nitpick that I have that I know a lot of people did bring up when this episode came out, the footage that was being used for the Guardians 3 hallway scene, that was actually HD cam footage and not actual footage from the movie itself, because the movie had come out on the movie didn't come out on physical media and Disney Plus until I think a week after this episode dropped. So there was a little bit of weirdness to seeing that. I don't know. Maybe they just needed. Maybe they just had to do it because of time crunch. I don't know. Can't say. But I think the analysis it's very good. It gets the point across on who these characters are and what they've been through. Now the animation. I actually love this animation. Now it's not my favorite 2D animation, but it is great animation in its own right. I love the fact that it goes full on Stitch in its setting. We are on Space Hawaii. We do get some great interactions between Stitch and Rocket. I love that we get to see all of Rocket's arsenal. It very much kind of takes me back to Ratchet and Clank versus Jak and Daxter, and how there's so much destructive arsenal being used here. And I also just gotta shout out that we get to see some great hand-drawn segments too, because this was kind of the start of it. I love the custom sprite work from Origin and how we do transition from that one shot, which again, that has to be an accidental callback to Ratchet and Clank versus Jak and Daxter, with the turrets firing at Stitch and him running, and you get that great shot where it beautifully transitions into a 2D hand shot. That was good. I do got to agree with Brobuscus. It was a bit hard to convey that, okay, what Rocket is using all of his best weapons and it's barely doing anything to Stitch. You do get that kind of weird fake out that, yeah, no, we all know that there's unfortunately nothing that Stitch can't handle from Rocket's arsenal, and it's just not good enough, sadly. So But I don't know. I didn't really. It didn't really bother me as much as I think it bothers other people. That's just me. Um, I also gotta shout out the voice acting. Again, Bro already mentioned Rocket voice actor who does amazing, but I also just want to shout out Delton for voicing Stitch. I think he did a decent job capturing the original voice of Stitch, which, fun fact, the voice of Stitch has always been the director of the Lilo and Stitch movie, and he's been voicing him for he voiced him for mostly every U.S. iteration of Stitch, with the exception of the anime. I don't think he voiced him in that, obviously.
No, he didn't.
And then, of course, I gotta mention... okay. I also gotta mention the other thing I thought Bro was gonna say he didn't like. I really love the track Jailhouse Rocket. I love how Aaron managed to capture that Elvis style very well. It was so boppin'. I grew up loving Elvis, and it was good to hear something Elvis in Death Battle. My only complaint that I have is the kind of out of character moments that Stitch has. That being how he appears. This is supposed to be when he has been adopted by Lilo, but the way Stitch comes off, it very much feels like it's the opening of the first movie, when he's just a rabid war machine animal. Like, there are moments where I really wish the writing could have improved this, mainly when his collar got broken. He didn't even notice it, nor did he get that upset about it, because that is a sentimental item that he very much cares about, because that represents his love that he has for Lilo as a friend. I also don't agree with the overkill of killing Ice Cream Guy. I don't know why they had to do that, but again, I get it. It was an artful taste, so fair enough. But other than that, I like this episode. I think it's very fun. It's just a great joy to watch, and it may not be in my top 10, but it certainly is better than most of the other episodes that I place near at the bottom. Again, that's just a testament to how this season just got better and better with each episode.
All right.
Well, I don't mean to rush y'all, but we are on number 14 and we are already over an hour in. So can we?
Agreed.
All right, don't worry. I
Rapid
can make this pretty quick. Yeah. All right. So Stitch Rocket. Well, first of all, I know starting this on a tangent is not the best way to start, but I would like to mention that yes, I did redeem myself. I have watched the Guardians trilogy, including the Christmas special. It's a fantastic addition to the MCU. James Gunn is the GOAT. All right. Just thought I should mention that. Anyway, yeah. Highest ranking episode so far. I had a fun time with this episode. Seeing them cover Stitch was a lot of fun. I thought they did a good job covering him, and really like his analysis, especially the cutaway gag with Boomstick and Dummy basically disowning Wiz for a good bit. That was a good laugh. Overall, very solid coverage. I liked all of the jokes they made in it. Rockets was all right. I mean, they covered him well enough. I did enjoy, again, the humor in it. Fight. I really like the fight here, actually. Once again, Richard mentioned it, but I must reiterate. Origin went off with the sprite work. Oh my gosh, the Stitch sprites look fantastic. The Rocket sprite also looks fantastic. And setting looked very good. I don't know if Origin. Oh no, that was the Viz post. Whatever. Not the Viz post. Whatever. Again, still looks fantastic. Oh, was well. Okay, yes. Then yes, did good. Fight was a lot of fun. I can understand why people wouldn't like it as much as others this season, but I just had a really good time with it. Had a lot of fun. Had a lot of good moments, like the Ratchet and Clank scene, as Richard put it. and the wave riding scene was a lot of fun. I do agree with Brob on the death a little bit or with Stitch getting shot. I do think having him get shot fully is a bit weird. I do feel like it should have only hit half of him and he barely survived, but I can understand why they would frame it like they did, and it doesn't ruin my enjoyment too much. Yeah, overall, I just think it's a very solid and good time. With just had a lot of fun with it. And why is it only at number 9, even though you don't know what my other ones are? Again, just like the other ones, that little bit more. But again, this one was a lot of fun. Oh, and also Jailhouse Rocket is still pretty groovy. So there you go. Yeah, overall, very solid time. All right, John. I was gonna say, John, do you have anything to add on this episode, Stitch Rocket?
Oh yeah, the Stitch Rocket was an amazing thing to board and work on, mostly because I've never drawn Stitch before, so it was actually pretty impressive that I was able to actually do him right. And also Rocket as well. When it comes to like the anthropomorphic characters or just animalistic ones, I'm always shocked on how good I am to draw them. I'm scared to say that said something about me, but whatever. In the end, though, yeah, this was a relatively fun fight because I love Stitch, and Rocket is one of my favorite Guardians. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Very cool.
All right.
Actually, something did dawn on me. You mentioned that if there could have been another way to interpret the power of the weapon without actually hurting Stitch.
Yes.
I think the best course of action that I would say for that would be he fires the weapon, Stitch narrowly dodges it, he loses a limb, and the beam hits Space Hawaii, and a huge chunk of it just gets destroyed. Or maybe just a mountain in the distance. That sort of thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Really sell the power of the busting cannon. That's it.
Like
Because it just seemed like he just got a direct hit and he was just fine.
Like I was thinking as ZDogg was talking about it, I was like, what if like instead of getting hit full on, like Stitch like narrowly avoids it, but he like loses like all of his limbs on like one side.
Yeah,
that's
what exactly.
And you like zoom in on his face and you see his like oh crap. Okay, I gotta be careful with this.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know.
the fight itself kind of makes it seem like it wasn't the weapon that was going to kill Stitch, it was the fact that he was in the water now and that he can't swim.
Yeah.
Which kind of takes away from the weapon's whole point.
And also, if you know Stitch and you know Stitch, water has kind of being in water has kind of become somewhat of a non-issue as time has gone on. Like after the first movie, they like almost, as far as I can remember, they've never brought it up again. So it's like him being underwater. It's like, oh, he'll get out, but like, why is he not dead? I don't know, but anyways, so cool.
All right. So, what did this tie with? I'm genuinely curious.
Well, I said we should rapid fire it, and I still think we should, but it's funny that like the next one we have to talk about is honestly one of the most fascinating.
All right. Well, Montage Man, play us in.
Number 13. Martian Manhunter versus Silver Surfer.
Oh wow!
I see.
You see what I mean now when I say fascinating. So we've hit another bottom of the list for one of us. This time it's ZDogg.
Yep.
Number 11, number 11 for me, and number 10 for Richard. So that's another top 10. Can you tell that we're
Right.
can you tell that we've reached some pretty interesting territory at this point?
Yeah, right off the bat, dear gosh. All right. So I guess I should explain myself a little. I'll try and make it quick, as quick as I can. So, this episode, if you probably, if you've been keeping up with the cast all this year, you could probably guess that this would be the one that ranked at the bottom of my list. And it's that time of year again for ZDogg ranks this at the bottom of his list, even though he actually likes the episode, just doesn't find it as interesting as the other ones this year. Yeah, that time. Which, I mean, if you want my TLDR, that's basically it. Like, there's nothing wrong with this episode, and there's actually a lot of things to like about this episode. For example, there's a lot of cool moments in the fight. I do like the dragon transformation, and I will admit, it does look amazing. And the analysis segments have grown on me a little bit, like learning about the origins of these two and, you know, what makes them so complex as characters did kind of grow on me. And of course, there are some jokes and there are some lines in the analysis that did make me laugh, especially Boomstick struggling with you know whose name. I'm not even gonna try right now. But with this, I guess just with this episode, I mean, I think the sign says it all. In comparison to everything else this season, I just don't find it as interesting. Like, and it unfortunately didn't grab me, I think, the same way others who really like this episode did. Like all the complex stuff in the fight, like, you know, like why, like asking why are we here, into RVB reference.
I wasn't gonna say it.
But yeah, like I like that. Like, it's interesting to think about. My problem is when you don't have interesting abilities on top of that. Like, yes, I know, like trying something new is good. But in my opinion, if you were to do this, I feel like it should have been done. Because I don't know, I think the balance of the interesting story stuff and interesting power sets is not doesn't mash as well as I want it to in this episode. Because I do kind of find the whole, you know, existential thing part of this animation really, I can find it pretty interesting at times. I just would have preferred if there was more interesting things happening alongside that. Because a majority of this fight is just them flying through space and them shooting laser beams, which, I mean, is fine. But when the analysis give me all these interesting things that they could have done in the fight, I am just left leaving kind of disappointed that they didn't pull more of those things out. And I don't want to come across as like someone like who like only comes to Death Battle or a versus show in general for just flashy action. I do appreciate when there are story beats and like interesting story beats. Heck, there's a good few episodes coming up that I think have interesting bits of story and character. It's just this one just unfortunately doesn't hit me as much as with the other stuff. Like I said, like there's a lot of good here. I'm just left leaving a little disappointed at and a little empty after I watch it, if that makes any sense. So again, not a bad episode, and I have grown to see more of its better spots. I just, in comparison to everything else, I just don't have as much entertainment when it comes to this episode personally. And I don't know if that's going to be a hot take, but I mean, hey, what are you going to do? Yeah. And again, I do seriously like it for just one last time. It just, yeah. Okay.
Well, I guess to chime in.
Sorry.
You had to do that as I'm starting. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. Allergies are a bitch.
I'm
Behave,
kidding.
children.
I'm kidding.
All right.
Anyways, so for me, so I if there's any episode that I feel like, because like you see it all the time, you know, an episode comes out and you'll get at least like a few people that are just like, and sometimes you'll get one where a lot of people are like that, and I've seen it for a few episodes. I've seen that in particular for a few episodes this season. This is one where I'm kind of like, okay, I get why. Because like you were saying, this episode focuses a lot more on story than on battle. Because like I will say that I do see that like the actual combat is just kind of there. Like it's fine, but they, like you said, it's a lot of like flying around through space and shooting lasers at each other. Granted, I do think Jean trying to get into the surfer's mind, turning into a dragon, and then the surfer using ice powers on top of it, I think that's kind of cool. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have. But I think for me is like it's just fascinating. Like it really brings a new light to like Death Battle's lore, I guess. Because like for a lot of it was like, oh, it's a simulation, the end. But this episode kind of like tugs at you a little bit, you know, like could it be more than that? And I just think that's interesting. Because like both Jean and the surfer are just there and they have no idea why. But well, they're fighting now. But I will say I do like that surfer's like, wait, hold on, no, let's not do this, and tries to run away, but he can't. On top of that, my God, I cannot get enough of Cameron Nicod's voice as the Martian Manhunter. It is just so...
Okay, I guess I didn't give credit to that, but yeah, I will admit, like, both Cameron and Paul do give really good performances as both.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul is great too, but just that like...
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know how to describe it. Like, it's... I don't really know how to describe Jean's voice in it, but I love it. It's nice to listen to. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just find the idea of like going more into like why are they fighting as opposed to oh they're fighting now. I just feel like that's I feel like that's fascinating enough to me to rank it a little higher than a lot of people. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really trying to find a good way to describe it, but I just think it's a very fascinating episode that both in its execution and in its reaction. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's solid.
Cool.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All right,
Okay.
Richard.
So for the longest time, I don't know how to explain this. Well, kind of obvious. I had a tough time figuring out where this episode ranked, because when I first saw the concept, I was amazed and entranced by it. It definitely was unlike any other Marvel vs. DC fight we've had, because again, yeah, like you and ZDogg have said, when we come to Death Battle, we just expect a standard affair with fisticuffs and little to no story nuance in there. Sometimes we do get them, but it's not always the case. But then when I watched this episode, I was very surprised that we did get it, and I really, really love this episode. I can comfortably say it. I think it is my favorite Marvel vs. DC fight of the season, and it's obviously a contender for my top 5, just because it covers 2 characters that I really appreciate and love. We do get to learn a lot about them, like in ways that I'm very surprised that not a lot of people have had complaints about, because this is probably one of the only Marvel vs. DC fights that there are no mishaps, there's nothing left behind, there's no blunders, there's nothing. It's all just, it's covered perfectly. You really feel like you know the characters by the end of the story, when it's all said and done. And then the animation. Okay, I do have to admit, there is one thing that kept this from probably breaking past the top 10, and I do want to get it out of the way. It is that there's a lack of a middle portion for the animation. It has a great beginning with a tribute to the film noir black and white stories that I loved as a kid. Fitting that John is a detective, so I actually like that. And then the ending. So we do have the makings of a good episode, but the middle portion is just, these two are trying to figure out, why are they here? If they didn't summon each other, then what is going on? And it very much feels like, instead of just trying to figure that out, they're fighting each other. It very much feels like it's just a game of space cat and mouse, and you don't understand how you can be this invested in, how are you supposed to be this invested if they themselves are just going to abandon the logic and questioning in favor of, oh, we have to kill each other, because again, just because we're experimenting, that doesn't mean that we can't still be, that still doesn't mean that we have to stop being a death battle, if that makes any sense. And there is the fact that John doesn't do much. I do got to agree with that. John, as a character, he doesn't do much in the episode. It very much just feels like Silver Surfer is just toying with him, and I really do wish we would have gotten to see more of John's abilities on standby. And I really do kind of just wish that maybe they would have leaned even more heavily into the characters, and their they're not existential, they're philosophical debates with how they were brought here, and how these are the first 2 death battle combatants to really see beyond the boundaries and question, why are they here? Like it goes back to comedically Red versus Blue, where you ever wonder why we're here? It's one of life's great mysteries, isn't it? Why are we here? And it feels like that's kind of the main linking point in this animation. But it just kind of, unfortunately, doesn't get to fully hit the home run. It comes close, but it doesn't get to go too far. But I still love it. The ending is very, very beautiful. I was this close to the verge of tears for this episode with how it was able to handle these characters, and how Silver Surfer took no joy in taking the life of what is essentially the last Martian, and just how it was handled, going back to the black and white filter, which we did talk about in our initial cast, how I believe ZDogg was the one who said he would have actually liked to see the whole episode experiment and be in black and white. But the usage of how they handled the black and white, it was very good, and it added to the nuance. Both actors do a great job, particularly, yes, Cameron as John Jones, who did a great job with his Carl Lumbly impersonation, and Paul as the Silver Surfer. And the music is so beautiful. It fits perfectly. So, yeah. I love this episode for all of those reasons I just listed. But I really wish, like ZDogg and Bro said, it would have been able to go farther. If that middle portion had been ironed out, then maybe this episode would have been even... This episode actually would have been better, because I have seen a lot of people say that they understood what this episode was trying to do, but it didn't have enough of what it was focusing on. Even if you count the opening analysis segment, it still is not enough to fully flesh out the episode. But for what we got, I loved it, and I really would like to see this done again, if they can, in a future episode that has these type of characters.
I mean, hey, if they can work it out, if they can, like you said, polish it out, maybe I can come to like it even more. You never know.
Yeah. So,
All right.
So I'm actually curious, John, what was your reaction seeing this? Like, oh yeah, we're doing this episode, okay, and then seeing the script and be like, oh, this is way different.
To be honest, yeah, when I saw it was going to be Martian Manhunter versus Silver Surfer, I was shocked because I thought Martian Manhunter was reserved for Piccolo, because I keep seeing that all over the place. So I was a little pleasantly surprised that it was just a Marvel versus DC matchup. Something that, again, I was thinking, it's like, yeah, John is all about, mental manipulation and shape-shifting and stuff, but Silver Surfer doesn't shapeshift as much as I remember. He's just kind of like a dude who has the power cosmic that can pretty much do anything that's like the Speed Force and stuff like that. I was kind of like, this is a weird one. But then Joshua, the scriptwriter, was like, he's always been trying to push the boundary on what a death battle could be. Every single death battle that I work on that he writes always has his input first and foremost. So I try to capture his vision as much as possible. So when it was just supposed to be like this pseudo-noir, what is life kind of thing that he was going for, I wanted to make sure that was good. And he liked what I had, and I thought this was a well-executed thing for his vision. And I can understand why people don't put it too highly, because it really isn't much of a fight. It's kind of like a chase with some fighting elements. But the vision is there, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Cool. So I guess we're moving on to number 12. Let's hopefully we can rapid fire this further.
Hopefully.
For this one, I doubt there's a lot that needs to be talked about. Thankfully.
That's fair.
But all right, number 12 with 36 points, one higher, which I think is funny. Killua versus Misaka.
Damn it!
Wow! Whoa!
Damn it! Oh well.
I'm
shocked.
gonna be completely honest. This one got a little higher than I was expecting.
Yeah, I'm glad. I am glad, but well, yeah.
But
Glad we all right.
So this was number 15 for Richard, number 14 for me, and number 7 for ZDogg. Oh boy.
Wow.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
times.
This Harlequin versus Jinx for me. Okay, basically.
Fun times were had by all.
Fun times at Academy City. Gosh. All right. Well, I will explain myself when due negligence.
All right. Well, since I had it at the lowest, I'll go first. It's like Bro said, this shouldn't really take too much explaining. Look, I like this episode. I do like it. It is not perfect. I'll give them that. If I had to speak on behalf of the audience, this is probably a matchup nobody wanted, and unfortunately, the views don't lie, the numbers don't lie, and they mean disaster. That's just an old, it's an old wrestling promo. Nobody's gonna get that. Anyway, despite all of that, I actually like that we finally got to see Hunter x Hunter in Death Battle. I was not expecting it to be Killua of all people. I really was expecting it to be somebody else, but hey, cool, Killua. It gave me an opportunity to go back and try again to rewatch Hunter x Hunter. Still haven't finished it because, again, the hiatus just creeps into my brain, and it kills the enthusiasm for me to want to finish it, but I will try one of these days. And like most people who does not watch tsundere animes, I had no idea who the hell Mikasa was. No idea. So yeah, the editing for this one was good. I enjoyed learning about I'm oh my goodness, I'm trying so hard not to call her Misaka. Fuck it. I enjoyed learning about her story. It seemed a bit average from what I looked into, or from what I learned, and from what Brobuscus told me. I wasn't missing much if I actually watched the anime. So yeah, the analysis was pretty standard, pretty good. The animation is, I think I was this episode's biggest offender, at least when it came to the animation aspect. It's absurd, but I like the animation. It's simple. I love cityscapes. I like that we actually did get to keep it relatively grounded. Ironic because these are two kids who literally are anything but normal by their universe's standards, or by our universe, excuse me. The choreography was pretty good. I like the use of calculations for Misaka and Killua's more personal approach, and how it was just a game of long range versus close range. And the biggest highlight was the lightning kaiju. It was pretty cool to see, and that shot of Killua going up in the air to try and summon the lightning dragon down on it, I actually liked that. That was pretty dope. The voice acting was fine. I cannot speak for Misaka. I do not know how accurate her actress was, but Killua's was very, very good. It almost sounded too identical to V's performance in the English dub. And yeah, the track's dope. I like the track, and yeah, it's a good fight. It's not great, but I like it. I dig it. It could have been better. I'll give it that. It would have been nice to see Killua fight somebody else, but hey, For the second episode, for the third episode, it wasn't that bad.
And to be honest, I don't really have anything more to add to that. The only thing I can really say is like kind of like commenting on what you were talking about earlier with how I said you're not missing much. I say that having only seen the first season of Index. I have not seen anything beyond that. I don't know what the common opinion is on a certain scientific railgun. I probably would say give that a watch. But I have no idea. So, yeah, I mean, as far as like the episode is concerned, it really is like nothing short of just like it's fitting given the characters. It's electric. It's electronic is the word, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It's fast. It's energetic. And really, I mean, the animation especially is really just nothing short of eye candy. Like all the lightning effects look so good. And the background setting as well. I also agree that Killua's voice actor might as well be a stand-in for Christina V at this point. Like she sounded really, really damn good. But other than that, I really don't have anything to say that you didn't. So, yeah. I'm trying to think of something and I can't. So I'm gonna pass the mic to ZDogg before I just keep y'all waiting by just thinking of something to say.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, if you have anything while I'm talking, just say it afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. So, having this ranked as high as I do may be a bit of a hot take. I can already tell. But honestly, I'm gonna say it. I find this in the same vein as Ant-Man Adam, where I feel like this episode is just. This episode should be talked about more. And I feel kind of bad that like not a lot of people talk about it or rank it super low. And you know what? I might have been in the same boat. Hold on. Sorry, coughing.
Bless you.
Thank you. I might have been in the same boat if I had not decided to do a full binge of Hunter x Hunter 2011 and Scientific Index. Which I will say, yeah, with Index, you're I don't think you're missing much, but it's weird. But I won't go into that much. Yeah. So I think having that bit of connection to this episode, having it be connected to a binge of a show that I had a lot of fun going through with a friend, that might have, bumped this up a little bit, but I mean, honestly, it's just a very solid episode overall, honestly. Analyses were really fun. I really enjoyed hearing them talk about Hunter x Hunter, and I think they did it very well, especially Killua and, his relation to other characters. Misaka, again, had a lot of fun with it. Talk about how freaking wild Toaru is, honestly. Gosh. And also, I do appreciate this episode letting Wiz get a chance to shine, because it feels
yeah.
he really does it in comparison to other episodes. So that's welcome to see, and I think Ben did a good job delivering all those lines with a little more oomph than normal. That was nice to see. Yeah, fight I really enjoy. Had a very good. Again, a very good custom rig by Origin. That was very nice to see. Had a lot of nice action. Really enjoyed all the skateboarding section. I really enjoyed the Godspeed segments. I really enjoyed the giant sand kaiju and the shot of Killua and and the snake. Death was really cool. I really liked the build up to it with the shot of Killua going into Misaka's coin. That was very nice, very nicely done. The voice acting, very nice. Especially again, I will give Giselle a very good. Sounded exactly like Christina V's Killua. And also just wanted to shout out that they are now the official voice of Daisy in the Mario series. So you know, that's cool to see. I don't think we had a chance to mention that. So you know, that's neat. And Misaka, again, hold on, had a very good role by whoever she was voiced by. I'm looking that up real quick as fast as I can. Flinty Kelly.
Flinty Kelly Lowe, I think is her full name.
Yeah. Again, did a very solid job with Misaka. Again, still have the problem of thinking she sounds a little old compared to her English dub voice actor, but that may just be me. Yeah, I don't know. I just think this is a very solid fight, and one that I feel like just kind of gets slept on in comparison to the rest of the season, which is unfortunate, but you know, understandable. And again, you know, gotta thank this episode for finally getting Hunter x Hunter off my watch list and having a great time doing so in the lead up. So that's also got to count for something. So yeah, overall, a very solid episode, and hopefully, this putting it this high won't be too much of a shocker. It probably will though.
Oh, I get it.
Yes, you do. Anyway, John.
This fight was on the radar of, okay, this is going to happen eventually, and I'm not going to like it. And look at that, it happened. I'm a huge Hunter x Hunter fan, and every time I looked at this fight, I'm like, he's just gonna kill Killua. and that's essentially where everything boiled down to for me. When it comes to the actual fight itself, you know, it was just a standard affair, and I do think this was one of those fights that was a little, how do I say, formulaic in a sense, where things are happening, but it's not like an actual fight going on. It's just a clash of abilities. It's like, oh, here's the rhythm echo. Oh, here's the thing, and the and a little back and forth is just kind of, eh. So I get why this episode is kind of like on the lower end of the spectrum for people. Mostly also because not many people asked for it that I remember.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. Like, I recognized. I didn't. I hadn't seen Index up until that point. But I was like, the only reason I really recognized Misaka was like, oh yeah, I've seen her requested against people who use electricity before. Killua certainly qualifies. So yeah, but that was literally it. So. So it did take me a little bit. It did take me a little by surprise to be like, oh wait, Killua's not fighting.
Akame.
Yeah, Kame is probably the big one.
Yeah, Kame. Yeah.
But yeah. And then actually watching Index probably didn't help matters either.
Probably just should have watched Railgun, but
yeah,
I mean,
probably should have just watched Railgun, because Index is. I really don't know how to describe Index. It's just weird. Like
formulaic or basic or your standard.
That and it's just weird.
Yeah, it's really the only word I can describe it as. It's weird, both in its like tone and how I feel about it.
What's weird is we're about to enter we're near the top 10.
Indeed.
That's true. We have one more before we get to the top 10. And this one, well, first off, I should say we're in another tie. We are starting another tie. And this one, I'm going to be honest, I have some questions.
Okay. I think I know which one this is already.
I actually don't know if you do.
Well, Montage Man, let's see if I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, number 11, 28 points. Cole McGrath versus Alex Mercer.
Oh, I don't. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, sure. It's funny when I was gathering up all these episodes for the final list. I went in episode release order when combining our lists. So when I got to Cole versus Alex, I was like, I think like by the time I got to it hit like the top 5. It hit like number 5, and then literally like immediately after, I was thinking like, okay, how quickly will it no longer be in the top 5? Literally the next episode, and then I was like, okay, but can we at least keep it in the top 10? Nope.
No. It was close. It was close.
Thanks for that. Yeah. So this is number 12. This is number 12 for Richard. This is number 10 for ZDogg. And this is number 6 for me. I will. The only thing I will comment on before I let Richard take the wheel is that it does feel a little weird that the one that we all voted on. Well, I guess I say we as if I'm not the only member here, but I'm not the only champion here, but I mean like we as in like champions voted for this match and it didn't even make the top 10. That's a little bit of a weird concept to me, but Richard, you are free to take the wheel. Just please make sure to be concise about it.
I will be as concise as possible. All right, so okay, look, I'm gonna get to the good before we get to the bad, because there is a reason this did not. There is a reason for this. First, the good. I was never heavily requesting this back in the day. I was never that much of a fan of these characters back in my teens. But a couple of years ago, when I got a PS3, I got Infamous and I got Prototype, along with a bunch of other games. I played and beat Infamous 1. I loved it. It was awesome. I now saw why this game was renowned as one of the greatest early PS3 games of all time. Same thing with Prototype. It was good. I loved it. I loved that it was made from the people who made Hulk, Ultimate Destruction. That's another reference nobody's going to get. And it was fun. It was very, very fun. So I was on board with this fight happening. Red Runner and Hyper did a great job campaigning for it. So yes, hats off to them. Gotta give them a shout out. I love the animation of this episode. I do think it captures everything that I love from the characters. And I also cannot, and of course, John's boards. I know you, John, I could tell that you and the animators were huge fans of both games, so I love that there was as much references, action choreograph-wise, as possible to what these characters do in their games. It was very nice. I enjoyed it. It was just so fun to finally see these two bounce off of each other. It felt familiar. It felt like nostalgic, because this is pretty much a classic bad guy versus a classic good guy who kind of went through a lot of trials in their lives. And I like how one is a dark reflection of what the other one could have been, whereas the other one, unfortunately, character-wise, because his studio was stupid, had to make him a dick just because. And I love the actors. I think Paul did a great job as Cole McGrath. He was fan-fucking-tastic. And of course, I also I'm trying to remember his name. Kevin, that's it. Kevin Rivera. He did a great job as Alex. The animators deserve very mad respect for what they were able to pull off, especially Luis with the cityscape. That was a wonderful cityscape, and I'm glad that it was as massive as it was. And the track
for the
by
future. Smile.
The track Inhuman by my boys, Swats and Omega Sparks. It was fantastic. It captures that feeling from the 2013 era that these games originated from back in their days. It was well done. I loved it. This was probably the one rap track that I listened on repeat. It was that good to me. And yeah, it's all good. And the end analysis is pretty good. It covers it very, very well. So, but there's one little problem that I do not like about this episode, and I did kind of touch on it, but I won't go too in depth. I do not like the script for this episode in terms of the analysis segment. I did not want them to do a time capsule episode. I would have preferred it if they just treated it as a modern day rendition like any other episode. But if they were going to do it, I would have liked it to have been more tasteful, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And it kind of just came off as they were trying way too hard to capture what season 1 was actually, what it actually was back in the day. Because there are some unnecessary jokes that season 1 didn't have. And I also just felt like the inclusion of the joke that, oh, Alex and Cole come from a bygone era that really aren't as relevant today compared to the PlayStation heavy hitters we have, like The Last of Us, God of War, and Nathan Drake. But it was, and I think just the main thing was, I really wish that the humor could have been more better. The way they talked about these characters was fine, but I just really feel like the humor was trying way too hard, and it felt like I felt like I was watching the equivalent of a sad Family Guy episode in terms of how it's trying to capture the writing of what its younger seasons were when it first started. But other than that, everything else about this episode is fantastic. On a technical level, it's great. And I really think everybody needs to be given a round of applause for how we finally got to see Cole and Alex in action. That's it.
All righty. It's my turn then. All right. I mean, I share a lot of the same sentiments. Well, some of them that Richard does. Yeah. Found well. I guess I'll just get the analyses out of the way now because I have. It's mixed. I mean, okay. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them even despite all the cringy humor. I'll be honest. Like, yes, there are some seriously bad ones, like the ice fart, and like I can enjoy fart jokes, but like no. But I don't know. I guess I just get a lot of like ironic enjoyment out of them. Like, like I know, like, is it a good reflection of that era of writing in terms of death metal? Is it in terms of that period in general? I guess. And I don't know. It's like, it's weird because like, it's fine, and like I do like a lot of the jokes, like even though I probably shouldn't. But on the other hand, I do really enjoy how Cole and Alex recovered as characters. I found Alex especially his internal like being a human without being a human, like very interesting. And I think they covered that aspect of his character very well. Cole's, I also enjoyed his coverage of character-wise. It was really interesting to learn about, finally. And I just think they did it really well. And the fight, oh my gosh, the fight. The fight looks amazing. The city looks amazing. I almost said Carnage. Alex's tendrils also look just outstanding. Okay, well, I'm not wrong. Anyway,
No,
when I say Carnage, anyway, exactly. Yeah, just the fight is entertaining. I like the choreography, especially Cole grinding on Alex's tendrils. That's amazing. The segment inside the building is very creepy, very atmospheric, very very good. Yeah, I mean, I'll also, of course, Inhuman, very good track, a certified banger. Yeah, I mean, there's really not a lot I can complain about with this episode that like drags it down for me. Like, it's just a very solid episode, and glad we finally got it. Glad it's finally in our hands after all these years, and yeah, just gave us a lot of cool action, some okay analysis segments, and yeah, I just overall think it's a very solid package. Oh, and also the ending is very good. I especially like Cole's last line. That just feels nice. Feels nice.
Well, it's perfect, but it's a lot better without you in it, asshole.
Exactly. So yeah, overall, very solid package.
All right. Well, I'll try to be more concise because I really don't have much to add that you guys didn't say. Well, I'll just say that I'm just gonna go out and say that I don't really have anything to comment on the fight. Like, I personally think it's basically perfect. I don't really have it. I literally don't have any problem with the fight whatsoever. Like, the animation is phenomenal. The voice actors do a great job. Inhuman is, like ZDogg said, a certified banger. The analysis is where a lot of the talk for this episode comes from. I understand that. Personally, I don't have much of a problem with it. Really, the only one. I mean, okay, I guess I didn't really find the ice farts that funny, but really the only one that kind of stuck out to me as like a wait, what the hell, was referencing Goku's muffin button. I was like, wait, what? Why? Okay, that was weird. But other than that, I don't really have a problem with the analysis, and I do think I personally think that the story coverage outweighs the cringy humor, in my honest opinion. More especially on, I mean, I liked Cole's analysis well enough, but I think it's more apparent on Alex, because just going into like the bridge between Prototype 1 and Prototype 2 does help me like understand why he's written that way more so. Because like, yeah, the dude tries to be human. He tries to be a functioning member of society, and apparently what he gets in return is society just deciding, yeah, how about you don't do that? So yeah, poor guy. I mean, granted, that doesn't justify anything, but still, poor guy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have anything more to say. I think, apart from some like a couple jokes in the analysis that I don't really think are fitting or funny. Yeah, I have next to no complaints with this episode. Yeah. So John, I hear you're a big fan of these characters.
You're talking to the guy who platinum Infamous 1, 2, Second Son, and Prototype 1 and 2. So yes, I
Oh god.
I like these characters and I like these games rather much. They were my childhood and they influenced me as an artist because I remember Cole and Alex being like, you know, when you're a kid, you want to draw your favorite characters and draw your OC with your favorite characters and that stuff like that. It was kind of like that kind of situation. And after a while, yeah, being able to finally do this fight after so long of requesting it and other people requesting it was a dream come true. It does suck that it does get on a lot of people's negative side thanks to the analysis. And to be fair, I get it. Purposely trying to have cringy humor of the old days never really sat well with me because like, why choose that as a writing thing? But I'm gonna be real with you though. When Liam came to me with the idea, I did think it was interesting if it was handled like more correctly. Like I hate to say it correctly. I just mean like really lay into the fact that you care about these characters and you're trying to be with that time, but the jokes there were just kind of like, oh, we just have like normie humor jokes for the sake of normie humor jokes. I don't know how to say it. Right? In the end, I'm happy that the fight itself was fantastic, and I'm happy that people liked the fight for what it was, and happy that the outcome was essentially what people kind of expected.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We literally opened up the like talking about like who's gonna win this fight. Like one of our guests was literally like, yeah, so Cole at the beginning of the game stops Alex.
Essentially, literally the beginning of the thing is a bigger feat of anything Alex has survived.
Oh.
Fun times were had by all that day.
Yes.
All right.
But all right. So what could have possibly tied with this one? Well, we're at the top 10, boys.
All right, let's do it.
It's number 10. All I can say is, be nice to me.
No.
Oh, well, okay. Rick Sanchez versus the Doctor.
Oh, you son of a bitch. Nah, I get it.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I will try to be concise, even though it is my number 16.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Look, man. You know,
the bottom ranking.
anyways, the last of the bottom ranking, and it's still in the top 10. That's weird to think
Fair
about.
enough. No, that is. I honestly thought this would get lower, so I'm actually happy it broke 10. So no, no. All kidding aside, I go ahead and explain where we put this.
Anyways, yeah. Number 16 for me. This is number 8 for ZDogg and number 4 for Richard.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So remember when I alluded to earlier that like once we get to a certain fight, there's a little anecdote I wanted to bring up. This was the one, and that's that when I got Richard's list and I saw that this episode was his number 4, I was like, oh shit, okay. I was like, well, this episode, this ranking's gonna be a lot weirder than I was expecting. But yeah, so why is it my number 16? Well, to keep it nice and simple, I don't really give a crap about these characters.
That is fair.
And to be honest, that is literally it. Like, I don't really like. Other than that, I mean, the analyses are fine. I feel like the Doctors, I feel like goes a little long for my liking, but that's probably because, again, I don't really give a shit. The fight is fun. I still had fun with it, even though I don't really care about the characters. But it's just like if any episode is gonna be like the one that I probably will go back to the least, it's this one. Cause yeah, I mean, apart from watching the Day of the Doctor short in this very server when we did that watch party when this episode was coming out, that is literally the only experience I have with both of these characters. And at this point in time, I don't really have any intention to fix that. And to be honest, at that point, do I really need to explain myself further? The episode is good. I just like the episode is good and I enjoy it. I do go back to it on occasion, but yeah, this is the like ZDogg said, like he was completely right when he was bringing this up before we started. It's like this episode is it's just not for me. This is like I am not the target audience for this fight. But I'm sure, as both ZDogg and Richard will probably be able to tell you, anyone who actually gives a shit about these franchises probably had a blast. And on that note, hey ZDogg, number 8, yeah?
All right, number 8, indeed. All right, so yeah, this was a very fun ride, honestly. As someone who has had interest in getting into both series for a while now, and getting my toes wet a little with not only the aforementioned Day of the Doctor viewing in the server, but also me going and watching the first season of Rick and Morty. Yeah, walking into this one, I had a really good time with it. The analyses were a lot of fun, shading in both characters and their kind of fucked back aspects of their backstory. Yeah, SMH though, we didn't get a Mr. Meeseeks dummy comparison. I thought that would have been obvious, but whatever. Fight overall is just a lot of fun. It looks really good. Claps to everyone who worked on it, because oh my gosh. Was a lot of fun action. Despite the Doctor not really being much on the attacking end, even though I do appreciate that they leaned into his more pacifist side, which we really don't get to see a lot in death battles. That's nice to see. To the point where, and I forget if we mentioned this when we were talking about this initially, the Doctor is basically the first combatant to not ever throw an attack and win. So that's neat. Yeah, I really don't know how much I can say about this one, but I'll also in this. Well, I say that, and I forgot to mention the track, which sounds really good. I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's just really good, and honestly, again, just made me even more interested in going even deeper into these two franchises, which is neat. And yeah. Overall, I think it's just a very solid ride through space. So, yeah. That's about all I can say in as short a time as I can.
All right.
So I'll try and keep this. Yeah. I'll try and keep this as concise as possible. So I have been a Rick and Morty fan since I saw the series when it premiered over 10 years ago. I've stuck with it through its ups, its downs, its many falls into the rabbit hole. But then when season 7 came out, it actually raised it back up. I've seen everything and I mean everything that the show has offered, not just including in its own individual seasons, but everything outside of that. I do have some Rick and Morty merchandise. I've always wanted to check out Doctor Who. I knew of him, but I never got to experience him until last year around the summertime when I did binge watch the first 9 seasons, and they were very good. Like, modern Doctor Who is very, very good. I enjoyed it. It was a blast. Initially, in the beginning, yes, like everyone else, I was that basic bitch and said that the 10th Doctor was one of my favorites. Now I've changed it to the 11th. And I was now on board for this episode. And as far as how this episode did, I loved it. It portrayed both characters perfectly well. And coincidentally for Rick, by the time this episode came out, he had just killed Rick Prime. And I was wondering if they were going to mention that or reference it. They couldn't obviously do it in dialogue, but I do like that they acknowledged it in the edits. So that was very good. And yeah, I loved how they covered all of the Doctor's history. At this point in time, I have only seen the one season of the older series with the 5th Doctor, but I'm going to try and fix that. And on a side note, I haven't told DJ this but and Max this, but I do want to thank them for ending the epilogue shot for the Doctor with his 11th incarnation. That was very good. I love that. But I'm pretty sure that was Max who did it. Could be wrong. No. Okay. The fight is great. Rooster Teeth's 2D department has really gotten better with their animations since the Mask versus Deadpool. They capture the humor of Rick and Morty and the whimsical, timey-wimey shenanigans of Doctor Who perfectly. And I just loved their banter. It was great. Brett Williams and Elliot Crosley, they did a great job as their respective characters. Brent sounds as close to Justin as possible, but he still is doing his own thing, and I appreciate that. I like that we got to have Morty involved for a little bit. I loved Elliot as the 10th Doctor. I don't give a shit what anybody says. That is the 10th Doctor in the animation. And it was fun to see him. And I loved the references. There are so many references, not just to Rick and Morty and Doctor Who, but also Death Battle as a whole. I enjoyed that. It wouldn't be the last time. And I also do like how this is probably the best characterization we've had of these characters, of a Death Battle combatant, just because of how ZDogg said, the Doctor does not throw a single punch, nor does he kill Rick. It's pretty much Rick who kills Rick, and I like that. And yeah, Wubba Wubba Owl Z, it's great. I love it. It mixes both styles of the shows beautifully. And I'm happy this episode got made, and every time I go back and watch it, as I get further into Doctor Who lore, it really, really makes me love this episode so much more. Especially with, again, the great season of Rick and Morty Season 7.
All right, well, on that note, John, how invested are you in these characters?
I've been watching Rick and Morty ever since season 1, and I've been on that train of, oh, this is great, and then it started to kind of die down. But now it's back to being kind of good again. I say kind of because, it's only been one good season, so I need to wait. As for Doctor Who, that's a little bit more of a complicated situation. I remember watching it when I was a kid with my grandparents, but then I fell off like a while back ago. I think the 10th Doctor was my last bit of like influence with Doctor Who, and I've just been kind of like ignoring it for the rest of that time. As for the fight itself of me doing it, I had fun, definitely. This will be my second time doing a hand-drawn related fight, and there's some differences when it comes to how I do those in comparison to like a sprite or a 3D fight. There's a lot more involved of me making sure that things are in the right places, because the things that I draw are now the things that they have to draw to make sure that it fits properly, and the environments are going to be placed in a particular way to make sure it, makes sense. So there's a lot more involved into it. But I had fun all the same, and I think this fight, in forms of like, if I wanted it, it's there. Kinda. It's the fact that I just see a lot of people talk about how Rick is like Doctor Who. Hell, I think he even says he's like the Doctor or something in one of the episodes. So yeah, it was bound to happen eventually. And if it is kind of funny that right when we're doing this fight, we do get an episode that revolves around a device that can wipe a person out the face of the multiverse. So that's just, Death Battle Curse all day. I just love
Yes.
It's a good thing it didn't do much. That was fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Moving on. It's our last tie, I swear. We're on another tie, but this is the last one.
Oh, shoot.
Thank God.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Numbers 9 and 8 both have 24 points. Did I mention that Cole, Alex, and Rick Doctor have 28? Did I mention that?
Yes.
Well, I did now. Well, I have now. So.
Well, you did it again. Damn, this is a close point. My gosh.
Yeah.
I just realized.
But okay, number 9. Gojo versus Makima.
Really?
I'm sorry.
My gosh.
I too am sorry.
Damn it. Okay. Wow.
I mean,
Who's got the explaining to do this time?
Yeah, who?
So this is
Bro.
this is number 11 for you, my guy.
Give me that.
Number 11 for you, number 10 for me, and number 3 for ZDogg. I'm so sorry.
Damn.
I'm so sorry.
I just hope my number one is, well, you know what, my number one is confirmed top half, so I guess I can't complain.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Correct. God dang it.
This is yeah, to be fair, this is the last one of the top half of the bottom half, so
Yeah.
that's gotta account for something, right?
Oh well. All right. So
Richard, hello.
Hi. Okay, so contrary to what anybody will be thinking, this almost did break my top 10. In fact, no joke, this is where my challenge came between did I want to put the awesome did I want to put this awesome action-oriented episode that might as well just be a mind fuck at number 10, or did I want to put the emotional the emotional episode at number 10? So I literally had to fight, and ultimately Gojo versus Makima just couldn't crack top 10, but it came close. I think it just comes down to, okay, so here's the thing. These two animes are very recent, and I do not watch a lot of recent anime, but for the purposes of this, I did watch the first season of Chainsaw Man.
and I actually liked it. I kind of wanted more of it. Kind of a little sad that it has to take a while, but I get it. You know, animation takes time, so fair enough. I still haven't seen JJK. I've heard all of my friends talk about it. I know how much John is a huge JJK fan, and a Chainsaw Man fan. So again, I've heard nothing but good things, and I swear to God, I will get into it. But aside from all of that, I actually love this episode. This is DJ's second episode that he got to write, which it is too bad DJ is not here with us because he did a lot. He pretty much doubled down on this episode on a production level. So hats off to him. In my opinion, it's good, but I still prefer Magneto versus Tetsuo over it. But then again, that could just be taste. I do love how they went into it, though. Like, this episode was unique as all get out. From the analyses to the way they had a special way this fight would be introduced for the simulation. It was good. I liked that. I love learning about these characters. I did kind of prefer I did kind of prefer Gojo's analyses over Makima's, but now I've kind of flip-flopped on it. And the animation is so fucking good. It was the last sprite fight of season 10, and boy did they choose a good one to go out on, in my humble opinion. The transitions from the 2D shots to from sprite to 2D shots, they were they were seamless. I could not tell where one stopped and where it began and where it ended. It was that damn good. Unless I do it frame by frame. The voice acting is good. Gianni does a great job. Gianni had a large task trying to match Kaiji Tane's performance, but I think he did very good. At least from how I have seen clips of Gojo's English voice, and yeah, Makima's voice actress, she fucking nailed it. Kelsey Jafer just did a fantastic job, and the main thing that I loved in this episode above all else was the track. Oh, the track was just fucking dope. I listened to I watched the preview for this episode just for that track alone. So yeah, I love this I do love this episode. I am a little sad that it didn't make my top 10, but it at the very least, the fact that I had to struggle with that and Silver Surfer and Martian Manhunter, I think that should tell you just how much of an uphill battle I had to pick a top 10. So, yeah, it's a great episode. I really love it, and I just want to say on a side note, I'm so happy that this is the highest viewed episode of Season 10 as a whole. It's almost at 4 million views.
Nice.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm done.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll jump in a little bit. Yeah, it's funny. I too struggled between this one and Martian Manhunter versus Silver Surfer. It's funny. So my process for going through this was like, I'll watch every episode. I'll watch each episode once. I'll go through the entire season, and if I run into some that I'm like, I don't know which one of these two I prefer, I was like, okay, I'll just go back to them later. And continue on. This one and Martian Manhunter versus Silver Surfer was one of them, where I was like, I actually don't know which one of these I prefer. But I think in general I do prefer the more high octane action. I do love the like I said, I did find Martian Manhunter versus Silver Surfer like a very fascinating episode, but just in general I do prefer. You know, I know, crazy concept. I prefer my battles and my death battles. You know. So yeah, I did kind of gravitate more towards this one. I think that's a funny coincidence, but anyways, I mean, it's even funnier because like I'm actually not really a big fan of Chainsaw Man, which I know is gonna be like, I know that's gonna paint like a huge target on my back, but I went into it and I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'm watching this really popular anime. Surely it's got to be really good. And then I walked out of it and I was like, eh. I don't know. It's just not really my thing. I don't know. I did like aspects of it, but anyways, I'm getting off track. I did like Jujutsu Kaisen for what I've watched, which isn't a lot. I really should get back into it. I kind of like lost the motivation to keep going after this episode came out, but which isn't really a fault against the episode. It's just one of those things, you know. It was the same thing for Hunter x Hunter. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I have yet to pick up another episode of Hunter x Hunter after Killua vs. Misaka came out. But
shaking my head to both of you.
But anyways, analyses are fun. I personally like Makima's at least a little bit more, even though I do prefer Gojo as a character. I don't know. I just think the idea of like starting off, you know, as everybody basically knows Makima, and then going into, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, she's actually secretly a devil. Yeah, apart from that, fight's fun. I like the music, I like the voice acting. The animation is, like Richard said, like the transition between sprites and hand-drawn is seamless. Yeah, I don't really have a problem with this episode. It's just, ZDogg's not the only person you're gonna hear this from. I just like the other ones more. Yeah. I guess what probably doesn't help is that, like, not only do I just find Chainsaw Man just kind of like but I really am not crazy about Makima as a character. I mean, do I bring it up? Yeah, I'll bring it up. The fact that I see a bunch of weirdos on Twitter gas her up as well, I'm like, okay, cool. Obviously that doesn't like fully affect my opinion of her as a character. I wasn't really a big fan of her in general. I guess like the idea of like her being a devil is enough of a plot twist, but like, I don't know, I guess they were really trying to gas up the idea of like, oh yeah, she's actually secretly evil in disguise, even though the writing was really on the wall for her to be like, oh my god, she's actually evil, who would have guessed? I don't know. But other than that, yeah, I really like this episode. I just like the other ones more. So yeah.
All right.
So ZDogg, gas up your goat, Gojo.
Yeah, yeah, baby. My parents are gonna question me so much. Anyway, I don't care. So, okay, yes. So if it wasn't obvious enough, I really, really like this episode. It's almost like I have it in my top 3. And coming as someone who really enjoys JJK and Chainsaw Man, heck, I enjoyed Chainsaw Man enough that I actually read the manga up to the end of part 1 and continue to keep up with it. If that doesn't say anything about how much it helped me, I mean, what does? But no, I have to consider I read those up to the release of this episode. Yeah, I really like it. The analyses, not only do I really enjoy them talking about both series in general, I did really enjoy the coverage of both. I am on the side that does prefer Makima's analysis, which I like. Don't get me wrong, Gojo's is fine and covers his character really well. It just comes with the thing like, oh, they still want to tiptoe around things that have yet to happen in JJK, or at least modern things, modern manga releases.
And then something that literally happened when the episode was announced.
Exactly. Whoopsies. Timing is fun. But no, I just overall just really liked how they covered Makima's story and how much of a twisted little bitch she is. And yes, that actually was intentional, I swear. But
I get it now.
Yeah, DJ went off in terms of his script for this episode. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the coverage. Really enjoyed the cutaways. Fight. Oh my gosh. This is peak. Not only do the sprites look amazing, the hand-drawn shots, like Richard said, seem transition beautifully into each other. The action is amazing. All of Makima's devils look fantastic. The fight song is so good. I can't stop listening to it. The climax has me on the edge of my seat every time I watch it. Just Makima using Bang and then Gojo being able to turn around with domain expansion is just so good. The voice actors, Gianni gets across the just smug, playful asshole of Gojo really well, and what's her name? Kelsey Jafar.
Kelsey Jaffer.
Jaffer, my bad. She does a very good job with.
Call her now.
I'm so sorry, but no, she does a very good job with the very twisted sickness of Makima. Everything they say, I as in character, I believe that. I just have so much fun with this episode every time I go back and watch it, and considering being a fan of it, I think also helped a lot because I understand if you don't care about JJK and Chainsaw Man, I know you could say this about every episode, but I feel like this one especially, I can understand why the aspects of it would put you off. But as someone who really enjoys both series and both characters, even though I hate Makima, don't get me wrong, I'm not praising her. I'm just praising her for being a villain. Again, Homelander effect. There's really not a lot I can complain with this episode, honestly. And I was gonna mention this, but since neither of the other two are in my top 3 have been mentioned yet, I guess I will mention something to keep in mind for later. Why is this not my number 1 then, or number 2? It sounds like I have a lot of fun with it. I'll just say my number 1 and number 2 just have more about it. I love the fight, don't get me wrong, but just in comparison to the other two, my top 2 just give me more fight to love, if that makes any sense. But don't get me wrong, while it's not what wears the crown in this ranking, it is still a fantastic episode that I will come back to over and over again. Yes, I love it. Still better that this couldn't get higher, but whatever.
I was gonna ask, hey, so John, I hear you're a fan of these characters, a fan of these franchises. Do you regret being here yet?
What do you mean? Why would we regret being here? It's I have my own grievances with this fight when it comes to certain things, but I refuse to say them in order to not get certain people angry at me. But on a generalist note, I had fun with this fight purely because I got to draw 2 of my favorite characters in fiction of the current era of anime, and Makima is one of my favorably written female villains in fucking anime history. So yeah. I was really happy to represent them in that way. And I can say that a lot of the fight animation had a lot of my input that you would actually believe.
My good.
I guess the one thing I could say that I'm proud that I was able to add in to keep the suspense going is Gojo losing his leg.
Yeah.
That was
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That was in the script. All that was supposed to happen originally is they just get shot 3 times in the chest, and that's it. I was like, really? Come on, Bang does way more damage than that. Can you at least lose a limb? And then he uses, reverse curse technique to, grow it back. It'll just be hype. And I was happy I was right.
Yes.
Hey, I'm really happy.
Yeah. There you go.
I think what tipped me off, like thinking like, because normally it would have been like, oh, I guess it's over here now because Makima's actually doing damage. But then like I remember like, wait, I heard Gojo laugh during this. I'm like, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, It's like I feel like there's more to it than that, and sure enough, there was. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I like Gojo, so I'm happy he won. I'm happy I was right. I was not confident in this at all.
I don't think any of us were, honestly.
Yeah.
Like when we were debating this one, I was like, I think I'm going with Gojo to win, but I'm like,
Yeah. Which I guess one more thing that I did forget to mention. Yeah, it was explained really good. So again, another props to DJ for that, for making us understand whatever this was.
yeah.
So yeah. All right.
So now that we're in the top half, you may be wondering what tied with this episode.